Virtually every time we ride, we check the tire pressure, and most of the time we end up adding air to the tires. We have a compressor in the garage with a Schrader adapter for filling the car tires. It's relatively quick and easy to use. Why can't pumping up the bike tires be as easy? Here I'm using an air tank to demonstrate some of the struggles I've had with various tire filling hardware. This Presta to Schrader adapter was recommended by Caroline at my local bike shop. The problem is that you must push it onto the Presta valve stem just right. Not enough and it leaks, too much and it's difficult to remove. Use the Schrader. It's a little wiggly. Please make sure you get it on. With any of these adapters, it's not always possible to measure tire pressure with a Schrader gauge. You need to remove the adapter, measure with a Presta gauge, then put the adapter back on if you don't have enough air in the tire yet. Several bike shops recommended these inexpensive screw-on Presta to Schrader adapters. This is how you use them. Put them on. They have to be pretty tight in order to be able to use them. Now you can put a Schrader end on there. More than once, I've accidentally unscrewed the Presta valve core when I removed the adapter. Major frustration when I'm really wanting to ride. Or the core comes out and you lose all of your air. My husband Larry is adept at building and fixing all kinds of things. He once manufactured a part to fix our broken refrigerator door on Thanksgiving Day. That saved us a ton of money. I've never given him grief for buying another tool since. I often refer to him as a cross between MacGyver and Bob Vila. Maybe he's a bit like Seth, too. Larry has designed and built a relatively inexpensive inflation tool for us to use on our mountain bikes. Figuring out the right pieces to use was the difficult part. See the parts list below. Later in the video, you'll see how quick and easy it is to build this tool. Here I am using the new tire filling tool. I can use the built-in pressure gauge stick to get the pressure close, and then check with the more accurate gauge to make sure I get just the right tire pressure. See how quick and easy it is to use? Now watch as Larry demos how he built the tool.
In our search for a better way to fill tires with Presta valves, I looked at what I liked about filling tires that had Schrader valves. This is a device that I picked up many years ago, probably 40 years ago, and it's lasted, and it is exactly what we want. It's got a fitting for an air compressor, it's got a Schrader fitting on both ends, and when you squeeze and operate it, the little gauge pops out and tells you what the pressure is when you release the trigger. I was looking for something like this that would work with Presta, and at the time I did not know that Park Tool made a device called their Inflator. But what we ended up making was something very similar to what the Park Tool's Inflator is. Here's what we ended up with. We ended up with, and everything's available on Amazon and it'll be included below the title for the video. We started with a device that is meant to be, this is a completed unit, this is a unit that hasn't been done yet. We start with this device, which needs to have a fitting to go to the compressor. It works with Schrader. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but I'll put a picture on top of this. It's got a little pin in here to push the center of the Schrader core in to let the air in. And it's got a valve that I probably can't pull this out with my fingers. No, I can. It indicates pressure 2 when you let off. So it works just the same way as the TrueFlate one did, and it's about probably 1/10 the price. In addition to this, to make it work for Presta, we need to change the end of this so it works with Presta, and to do that we're going to destroy the Schrader piece of it. We're going to put a little adapter on the end, and what I bought was a 6-pack of adapters. They're so cheap from Amazon. Put a right angle one. They sell 45-degree ones. They sell 135-degree ones, and you can get the 6-pack kit that's very inexpensive for the angle you wish. And finally, there's this third device. This third device was recommended to me from a bike store, a local bike store, and it's really nice in that it has a nice rubber piece in the center of it, and the nice rubber piece in the center actually can be screwed in a little tighter so that it fits very, very well. The downside with it is, again, you need something to screw onto it, or you'll do what we did in the earlier video. You had to hold this and had to hold the air fitting for the Schrader on top of this. So let's build this, and we can build this quite easily. First thing we need to do is come up with the fitting for the air compressor. The fitting for the air compressor is probably going to be what's called 1/4-inch air hose fitting, and they're available. Again, the link will be below the video. We bought them from Amazon. You can buy them from Home Depot or anybody else. And they're pipe threads. Pipe threads mean that they're tapered, so you don't need to put any sealant in here if you don't wish to. And if it leaks a little bit, you just keep tightening it until eventually it seals. I chose to put a couple wraps of Teflon tape. You can also put some goo on it that you can buy for plumbing or whatever. But this will be under pressure the whole time you're using it. So if it leaks, you'll hear it hiss a little bit. But what you do is you put that on there and just tighten it up, and everything should be good to go. And all the fittings here are either 14 millimeter or 9/16, or if you wish, a crescent wrench is just fine. Now let's see how well this works. So we have a blow hose if we want, and we have a fitting that works with a Schrader valve. So now let's convert this to Presta. First thing we need to do to convert this to Presta is to remove this Schrader adapter at the end. And I'm going to use a crescent wrench and a 14 millimeter socket. And when we do this, we'll notice a couple things when we open this up. There's a little pin in here that's free. That's the piece that goes in and presses in on the center of the Schrader valve. We don't need that anymore for Presta. And there's also a washer in here. So we're going to get rid of this washer. We're just going to poke it out with something. Then what we're going to do, I'm just going to put this on loosely. Let's assume we want to use a 90-degree adapter again. So we're going to open this piece up. And what these are made for is they're made for extending a valve that's a Schrader valve a little further so you can get access to it. So this piece fits over your Schrader valve, and it pushes in on the center pin, and then there's another Schrader core right here that we use. That's for Schrader application. We don't need that, so we're going to get rid of the core. We want a hole through here, and we're just going to take this end and glue it into here. And that's about it. It's about that simple. Now, in the process of doing that, if we look closely, we'll see this pin in there. This pin might restrict the air a little bit. In the first unit I built, I went in here with a pair of pliers, grabbed this pin, and bent it backwards and forwards about 20 times, and it broke off, so that the air opening was a little bit larger. I'm not sure that's necessary. I'm not going to do it for this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix up some glue. We're going to mix up some glue, and if we look at how well this fits, it's not a tight fit, but it fits pretty well. It's pretty tight in here actually. And we put this on. This is another strain relief on it, and so when this is on, get it back on again. It wiggles a little bit, but it's not bad. So what I would recommend doing in this case is finding some glue, epoxy or something, which is pretty thick, because we don't want the glue running down inside of here, which will obviously constrict the air, any kind of airflow we have. Okay, so the glue I've chosen to use is something called PC11. It's an epoxy, but it's pretty thick. It's not real common. You can find it on Amazon, but you can also use things like JB Weld, which is just as good, and it's pretty thick glue. But you can see this glue, when mixed, is never going to run. It's pretty thick. Two different popsicle sticks to keep the contamination down a little bit. Mix it up real well. It's kind of hard to mix because it's thick. This glue also takes 24 hours to set, so it's not a fast setting epoxy. But when it sets, it's really hard. If you remember, probably 20 or 30 years ago when this glue was invented, there used to be little demonstrations in hardware stores where a golf ball was glued on the top of a Coke bottle, and they used to give you glue for free if you could break the golf ball off the top of the pop bottle. And I tried every time I went into the hardware store with my dad, and I never broke it off ever. So my memory of the glue is pretty good. So this is pretty well mixed up now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put some glue. We're going to put this on here like this. We're going to put some glue on the threads here. And if we put glue on here and not in the hole, and you might look in the hole and make sure that it's clean. In this case, it looks pretty clean. But if it's not clean, you can go in there and clean it up with like a Q-tip or something and some alcohol if you think there's any grease in there. I'm going to put this on here like this, and as I push this on here, what's going to happen is the glue is going to be pushed back towards the end. So we're going to get this on here far enough and start to put this on. If I've done a good job, I might get a little glue that comes out the end. If I haven't, I'll put a little more glue on. Wipe away. Wipe away some of the excess here. Keep it off my hands. Looks like there's not going to be any come out the top. This doesn't need to be too tight now because once the glue dries, of course, it's going to be held by the glue. Wipe the glue off again. Now I ended up making this one with this pointed this direction. It seemed like it was easy to put away. If I put a rubber band on it, I put it in a toolbox. This worked out nicely. The glue's not coming out of here right now. I didn't put quite enough glue on for that, so I'm going to put a little more in here. And we'll kind of wipe it off. Try to push it down in there. And then wait till tomorrow morning or so to be able to use it. Wipe that off. Again, make sure that this is positioned about where we want it. And put it off to the side. And then tomorrow, we'll screw this on here and we're done. That's all there is to it. And that yields us Fast forward 24 hours, we'll use this one as an example. Got my lovely assistant here to give me a hand with the tank. Hopefully this will put this in the video. We can see how it works. So again, we can still use this as an air fitting or as an air gun if we want. Want to fill a press the valve with it. This is just a 10-gallon tank which had a built-in Schrader valve and had 2 threaded fittings, which I use to connect to a compressor if I want to fill it, and I just put a press the valve at the end for this demonstration. And what we have to do here now, it's as simple as this. We put this on lightly, squeeze, put air in it, let go. We can read what it is. It's about 26 psi in there right now. Now the air flows in here a lot more slowly than in your tires because of the volume of this. It's 28. Pull that off. And then we also found some really nice gauges. They go to 30 psi max, which is like perfect for mountain biking. Actually, they go a little bit beyond 30. You don't want to wrap the needle around it hits the stop on the other side. But you could easily count, you could easily interpolate with your eye at 31, 32 psi. Put that on there. Remember, we had 26 and there was all what we had in there. This says 27. So this is pretty accurate. It's not perfect, but it's very, very easy. Just put it on, fill. You're not hearing much because the compressor is only set to be about 30 psi, so there's not a lot of airflow. We put a little more air in there. It's easy to pull off. This is super easy to make a reading. 27.5 psi right now, and that's it.
If you like this idea for an inflator, let us know in the comments. If you have other ideas or gizmos that you use to make filling tires easier, we would love to hear about them. Leave a comment, mash the like button, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep riding and stay young.